Hello, hello. This is Karina with Phonics in Motion, and we are going to talk to you about the language calendar and the routine for the language calendar. The language calendar is where it is all pulled together. There's major power in PIM in that it comes from its spiraling nature and repeat exposures, and also the authenticity. This is about authentic language, not super scripted programming. And there's power in that. This enables you to reach your strugglers and enrich your advanced learners all at the same time in a group setting. And you do that with the language calendar. Thanks to selective attention, one student might get one thing from an entry and another might walk away with an entirely different learning. Or the struggler might have the opportunity to see something that they've seen many times before, and it might just click this time. That's what the language calendar is about. The entries are typically written in past tense to expose irregular verbs, and you engage students in the writing of the entry. Becky's going to demonstrate for you, and you will see how she's engaging with the audience and asking questions, and they ultimately think that they are authoring the entry. The entry is about something that has happened, an activity or a happening that the children took part in that day or maybe the day before, and they really take ownership of the writing because of that, because it's about them. They feel connected to it and they feel like they're the authors. Even though they do feel like they are authoring the entry, you've done your planning. You know what you're going to write. You're just eliciting questions to help write the entry and help them feel like they're the author, but you know what you want to focus your teaching on. If you are a teacher, an administrator should be able to walk right into the room and say, oh, she or he is working on contractions this week and the handwriting story for S. They can see it in the language calendar. Your evidence is already done for you. It's right there on the language calendar. This is what we're working on. You can see it. It's clearly planned and it comes across in the entries. Let's talk about order and scope and sequence. I'm going to pull them up. Let me do that now. All right, so this is the first grade scope and sequence. Of course, open your grade, but I'm just going to show first as an example. So the KMP and poetry scope and sequence is your phonemic awareness scope and sequence. If you've watched that training, you know that like all other phonics in motion components, there's opportunity to develop all pillars of early literacy in that routine, but it's really our core phonemic awareness scope and sequence. The handwriting scope and sequence with the reading and writing monster is letter ID, speech to print mapping, directionality, and letter formation. And if you're in first grade or above, then you also have the vowel house, which is your vowel sounds and spelling patterns down here. So vowel sounds and spelling patterns, it's your word work. You have the word list for each week. This is your home for phonics, and you're following the order of this word list. So what is the language calendar scope and sequence then? The language calendar is where everything is pulled together. And it's so powerful because it connects all of the other scope and sequences that I just showed you. It's really the glue of the program. And you use the other components in your entry. So you're developing phonemic awareness by using the KMPs as you decode and encode the entry. You're teaching concepts about print and punctuation. You use the handwriting story of the week. First grade teachers and above, you will ask students to take a word from the entry to the vowel house to identify the vowel sound and look at the spelling pattern. The word that you choose to take to the vowel house from the entry does not have to be from the window that you're focusing on that week in your vowel house word list. The language calendar is really about offering spiraling teaching, and this is why the scope and sequences, they do overlap, but they are not totally match for match, and that is intentional because it's about offering spiraling and opportunities for repeat exposures in an authentic and natural way. You're really honing on the skill of focus in each scope and sequence, but then the connections between the components are authentic and natural, and it's really powerful in that way. So pull whatever word feels natural from the entry and then review that sound and spelling, or expose something that hasn't been in the vowel house word list yet. When it comes to KMPs and sounds, same thing. Do whatever feels natural and don't worry so much about matching the sounds from the KMP and poetry scope and sequence with your language calendar entry. That said, definitely be a kid watcher and hone in on sounds that strugglers might need more practice with, or do something sort of advanced sound-wise that hasn't been covered yet for your advanced learners. So how do we help you with planning though? Of course we help you with the planning for your language calendar entry. In the scope and sequence here, you will find, depending on the grade, digraphs, initial blends, final blends, contractions, and double consonants that you can focus on in your entries. And these are just by month, so weave them in when you can, but this is where you want to be hitting on them. I'll show you a scope and sequence for stories and markings as well. So stories, for example, with the digraph CH on the language calendar, you bring language to life. It is so much fun. You're not just talking about how CH says ch, ch, ch. You're using the motion and you're saying, hey, when C hangs out with that troublemaker H, H pulls C into trouble and they chug, chug, chug right out of town. That gets kids' attention. You're not fighting for attention spans, and they will never forget that. When they see ch, they know that C is hanging out with that troublemaker H, and there's a story for pretty much everything. So I will show you that too. So this is all laid out for you for your language calendar scope and sequence. We have a language calendar scope and sequence for concepts about print, and then the stories and markings that I just talked with you about. So here is the scope and sequence for concepts about print. This is the question that you would ask your students. We tell you everything to do, and then you'd say, hey, where do I start to read? Show me. And they would point to the beginning of the sentence or the paragraph. M stands for modeling. So in pre-K, you are modeling this scope and sequence. In kindergarten, we would be expected for you to assess that. So, and then second semester or second half of kindergarten, that should be assessed and you're reviewing it through third grade. So that's how you read this document and use it. This is all about concepts about print, and everything is laid out for you here. Language calendar for scope and sequence of markings and stories. So this is where we take language rules that you need to know as an adult and translate them into kid-friendly stories like that ch digraph story that make sense to kids and stick. So they never forget them, use them, and it makes the language calendar entry time magical and powerful, in addition to using the handwriting stories that they already know and love. All of the language calendar stories are in the ebook. Let me show you that. Here's the ebook in the Learning Center. I'm going to open it here by pressing the down arrow, and then I'm going to go to the table of contents and click into the language calendar. Let's see. There is a ton of info here about organizing the language calendar. There are example entries, strategies for planning, and then here are all of the stories and markings. I'm going to bring us right there, and then you will see all of the scripts for each story, what the story is, how to mark it on the language calendar. So that ch, this is how we would mark it on the language calendar in writing. You would do the C and the H, put some little boots on the H, and then pull that C into treble. So those sort of markings correlate with the story. Here's the WW wrestler that silences the H. This is how you would mark it. There's the WW wrestler and there's that H, and we silence him because that WW wrestler is so strong and H has no power over that wrestler. Okay, so those are the stories for you. Everything is a scaffold in Phonics in Motion. Keep your language calendar up all month long, and kids will refer to it as they journal and practice writing. If you are a homeschool parent, take your entries and collate them into a book and let your little one read them throughout the month. At the end of the year, you will have a record of how much you've covered and how much they've learned. Look at the entries and the complexity, how they've grown in complexity, and celebrate that success. You'll see that over time. Teachers love doing this too and adding the language calendar book to the reading area of the classroom. And believe me, it becomes your kiddo's favorite book in your classroom because it's a book about them and all of the experiences that they have had over the month and over the year. On the language calendar, you are teaching phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, writing, comprehension, concepts about print, grammar, your state standards. It's all pulled together. If you're using other phonics programs or any other early literacy program, you can easily integrate their scope and sequence into the language calendar and plan based on what you need to focus on in their order in that program. Very, very easy to pull it all together. The components of Phonics in Motion, all of the pillars of early literacy instruction, and even other programs in the language calendar. And it's all modeled. What a gift to your students. I'm going to hand it over to Becky now, and she's going to demonstrate an entry, and you will see how she develops phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, handwriting, all of the above. We've talked about the routine for modeling, and you will see it in a moment. If you'd like to look at this slide in depth, just press pause on the screen now. After the entry is written, so there's the routine for modeling, which is interactive, where you are engaging with the students and you're getting it down on paper. And these are all of the things that you can do in the routine. After the entry is written, use it for further teaching. So develop phonemic awareness by clapping out a short word. That's a one clap or one syllable word, and a long word, a word with two or more syllables. Stretch it out on your arm, say it slowly, segment and blend at least one word or syllable per day on the language calendar. And then box and highlight sight words and discuss these rule breakers. I'm going to pass it over to Becky now, and she's going to demonstrate the routine. Enjoy and do this every day. It is so powerful and it becomes a learning culture. Thank you.
Okay, boys and girls, I'm so excited to do our language calendar entry today. So we already said that today is Thursday, December 2nd. And remember what happened earlier today with our gingerbread man? That's right. Oh my gosh, he got away. Another word we can use to say that he got away is the word escape. Say it with me. Escaped. So our gingerbread man escaped. Do you remember what happened? Where did he go? That's right. He went to Mr. Chet's class. So we can write our gingerbread man escaped. He went to Mr. Chet's class. Let's get ready and show how many words are going to be on our language calendar entry today. Our gingerbread man escaped. He went to Mr. Chet's class. Let's see how many words there are in our entry today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's get started. So the first word was, remember the first sentence was, our gingerbread man escaped. Okay, yes, that's right. Okay, so we have to start our sentence with a capital letter. So we're going to start with a capital O, our gingerbread. Let's clap that word, gingerbread. How many parts? 3. Let's show that. Gingerbread. Yes, and you're right. The gingerbread man is a person, and he was a character in a story. So we're going to start with a capital letter to show his name is special. Gingerbread. What do you hear at the ends of the word gingerbread? Show me. Our gingerbread man. Say the word man. Man. And yes, you're right. We're going to make man capital because it's an important word. Let's think about what vowel house window that would go in. Say the word man. Man. Show me. An. What window does it go in? That's right. It goes in the a window. And our gingerbread man, what did he do? He escaped. Show me. Say the word escaped. Say the first part, S. What do you hear at the beginning? S. Good. He escaped. Did he escape right now? Oh no, it already happened. You're right. Yes, you're going to see that ED at the end. Show me. He escaped. He already did it. He did it before. Our gingerbread man escaped. Did we read it like this? Our gingerbread man escaped. No, you're right. We were shocked. So we read it like this. Our gingerbread man escaped. We couldn't believe it. So yes, we're going to put an exclamation mark at the end there. And then when we were done with this, what happens? What did the monster do? He's going to pull us back. We were at the end of our paper, and he's going to pull us all the way back to the left. And we're going to start over here. Our gingerbread man escaped. Yes, we're going to start with a capital letter. He. Say the word went. Show me. And let's segment and blend that on our arm. And did you hear the quick one at the end? Let's do it again. And went. He went to. Where did he go? He went to Mr. That's right. He's a teacher and his name is important. So we're going to show it with a capital M. Mr. Chet's. Say the word Chet's. Chet's. That's right. What do you hear? Ch. Capital C for Mr. Chet. Mr. Chet. Oh, it's his classroom. So we're going to do our apostrophe. And yes, there's going to be an S. And remember, we learned about the S today? Let's remember, S is what? S is so silly. He goes towards the monster, comes away, and goes right back. He is so silly. Our gingerbread man escaped. He went to Mr. Chet's class. Good. Say the word class. Class. There's a quick one at the beginning. See if you can hear it. Cool. Cool. He went to Mr. Chet's class. There's that S is so silly again. S goes towards the monster, comes away, and goes right back. And there's a double S at the end. S goes towards the monster, comes away, and goes right back. Oh my gosh, you're right. I won't forget it. I promise. put a period at the end. Okay. Let's read it slow. Tell me what you think about how this sounds. Our gingerbread man escaped. He went to Mr. Chet's class. Okay, now I'm going to read it like a fluent reader. Just tell me what you think. Our gingerbread man escaped. He went to Mr. Chet's class. Which way sounds better? Yes, the second time sounded much better. All right, first let's draw our gingerbread man. He kind of looked like this. Let's give him his buttons. He had some buttons and he was smiling. Let's give him a smile. Remember how shocked we are where we found him. We found him. Let's draw a door to represent Mr. Chet's classroom door, and I'll write Mr. Chet on the door because that's where we found him. Okay, so now let's take a look. Let's clap a short word, okay? Let's clap the word to. Say the word to. To. One clap. Let's clap a longer word. Let's clap the word escaped. Do it with me. Escaped. That's right. 2 claps. Yes, let's take a look at a sight word. That word hour. We have to know what that word looks like. So I'm going to highlight it. We have to just know what this word looks like. Everybody say the word hour. Good. Okay, let's read it one more time. Our gingerbread man escaped. He went to Mr. Chet's class. Great job.